Hello, hello. What's up, everybody? Hello, happy Monday. There we go. All right, what is good? Welcome to the channel, everyone. I am currently waiting for some people to show up. Hop in the queue, see what's up. I do believe that now I should be in the Discord and you all should be able to hear me. Let me get this going. Hello, welcome, welcome. Can you all hear me on Discord? I'm using a different mic. I think this is working in the way that is intended. I've never done this before, but I've watched Copycat do it several times. So, welcome. We are going to be doing some one-on-one tube feedback. So what you can do is you can submit here, assuming that you're picked or something of the sort. And then you can hop in the stream, we'll play your track, and then I'll listen to it and then give you advice, or you can ask me what's going on. I never do this, so I thought that I might give it a shot. I fixed my issue with the microphone, sort of. I'm using a shittier iPhone microphone, but hopefully this should still suffice to be able to talk between us both. So yeah, let's get some people in here. And let me see what's going on, see if we can actually get this running. Let me also share this here. If it's just you today, Vasco, we might just do your entire album. We'll see what's going on. I'm going to mute the music for now. I'm going to play something over in the background for the YouTube audience while we wait for some people to come in. Right now, I have nobody. So get in there and hop on in if you want to participate with what's going on. A little nervous now. I'm almost wondering if people aren't going to show up. Ooh. Let's see what we got going on here.
Come on.
Yeah, it's a little something that I'm working on. I've got some other stuff that I was working on as well. Yeah, it looks like we're getting up and going. I'm just waiting for some people to show up and seeing what's going on. What was this other track that I was doing? Paper bag. On and on. Demo. Left it on the click. Where was the other one that I was working on? I don't even remember what it's called. Ah, these kinds of sounds. Move this over here. Bob, are you ready? You want to be first? So I think what is going to happen is you can raise your hands, and then I'll let you in, and then, or do I have requests? No, I don't have any requests. So you can raise your hand to speak, and then you can come in, you can share a track, and then I'll review it. I don't know if you'll be able to listen to it alongside with me. I'm not really sure how this works. But yeah, let me see if we can hopefully get some people in here over time. But I don't know why tune feedback is just super dead now. You would think that a lot of people would want their stuff being played, but I have an inbox. Yeah. So, I mean, as of now, the queue is open. So whoever wants to be first, if you want me to review your stuff and hop in the chat with me, then you're more than welcome to. Post it here. Uh-oh. Can't be playing other people's stuff in here. I'm not trying to get a copyright issue. Here we go. Yeah, we're just chilling. We're just waiting for some people to show up. And you can post your MP3s here in the chat on this. And then when it's your turn, I'll have you raise your hand if you want to submit. But yeah, if you got something that you want to share, put it up. I guess now that I think about it, while I wait, I can get through the quick play spells. And this is just another thing that you all can do if you want to submit. But I don't know where we're at here. Find a better solution for kicks. Today's the 3rd. So I think we just have one, which is this one. Yeah, for this one, just there's so much stereo in the kick that it doesn't really even have a transient or anything. Um, so it's a while ago, I haven't touched in months. Maybe some insights can breathe some new life into it. Okay, do you want to hop in? Let me see. How do I do that? How do I how do I give you permission to speak? Invite to speak. There we go. Hello, hello.
Am I audible?
Yeah. Hello. Welcome.
Hello, hello.
How goes it?
Okay, wait, so I have to mute the stream or something because I can hear myself talking.
Oh, you can. Shit, sorry. Um yeah, yeah, you're gonna hear the stream through that. So it's kind of a strange setup. I apologize.
No problem. I muted the stream. It's fine like this, I think. I'm hearing some music, something.
Nope, I don't have any music playing.
I can okay, I can mute it. It was Discord decided I needed that,
Oh,
apparently.
fair. Okay. So yeah, you started this a while ago, but you haven't touched it. Do you want to tell me about what this is and about what's going on?
Um, I it was from a time I was kind of not inspired to make anything, so I just wanted to make something simple, just to be active. And then I made this in like an afternoon, and I never touched it again. Started some other projects, but I think it has some potential. The intro is still very placeholder. Like there's a lot of things missing, obviously, but like maybe the concept could go somewhere. Or any ideas you get flowing when you're listening to it
Cool.
are
Yeah.
welcome.
Okay, so I think the way that this is going to work is I will mute myself and then I'll play the track through the stream and then I'll come back on. Um, I don't really know how else that would work other than maybe sharing the screen. I suppose I could do that.
Yeah, you can like stream through Discord, I think.
Yeah, so maybe I'll do that as well. So let me see if I can share the screen. Share your screen. It looks like
Although
it's
I'm not seeing the option. It's like grayed out in the bottom. Yeah, right there.
yeah. So I don't know if I can while I'm doing the Q&A stuff. Or maybe it's because I've got another streaming device going on at the same time. I'll have to ask Copycat about that sometime later, but yeah, so I'll just go mute and then we'll play the track out. You can listen through the stream
Yeah,
and then we'll do that. So sorry, you guys have to have two tabs open in order to figure out what's going on for those of you in the audience, but yeah, let's play your track. Well, uh waveform is fine. Cool. So I think the ladder when the beat actually starts is already really strong. Like one thing that I would say that will help breathe life into it is having background sounds and contrasting elements, because right now everything is just up front. And so the sound stage of it is just super aggressive, which in some cases works really well. But if you have little things that you can introduce, like spooky sirens or, echoes and delays and stuff just every once in a while to help create more sub characters for the story, then that's going to help you really flesh out like the energy and the vibe of what you're going for. I think the thing that
Yeah,
I
I
would
think I agree. It's not a very serious tune, like with the intro, the melody is also kind of. It was like supposed to be a bit of a spooky tune, so I think I can really lean into that probably.
yeah, I would say I like the melody that you have at the beginning, but I wouldn't have it necessarily in a bass format, if that makes sense. I would probably use that as a means to create a chord progression out of that and maybe have that start in obscurity. But you essentially have like two drops or like two builds. You know what I mean? It's like you have an intro and then you like do a whole another intro that's like half of the track. So I think that you could
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
just settle on one and then, like have that and be like, okay, this is going to be the main idea that's going to introduce to that, because they both work. And then you can resample and build elements off of that to help create more stuff. Does it have to be unreleased? I'd prefer it to be unreleased just because I don't want to get copyrighted, but I mean, I'll take whatever at this point. I have such a hard time of getting people to submit stuff that I'm like, oh, whatever, just send me what you got.
It's so weird to me. Like these feedback streams are the most fun in my opinion.
I like to do them too, but I don't know what to say, to be honest. But yeah, did you have any other questions or anything that you wanted to ask me about with this?
No, not really. I think what you said made sense and should give me enough to work on, probably. I'm
Yeah,
gonna go browse the internet for some spooky Foley samples, whatever.
for some
And
spooky inspo.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, cool,
I mean,
man.
I'm kind of late. Halloween was this weekend, but
No,
who
it's
cares?
it's never a bad time for spooky stuff, in my opinion,
Yeah, that's very true.
for
All
sure.
right, thanks for your feedback, man.
You're welcome. Thank
Appreciate
you
it.
as well.
All right.
So yeah,
So, am I leaving this automatically, or do I have to do anything?
I got you. Bye. And for you all that are in the audience of this, let me go ahead and share. Hold on one second. Let me try this. If you all click on this, for those of you in the audience, and I hit play, can you hear this? Do you have sound? Okay, sweet. So we'll just do that. Dope. Okay, we got that issue solved. So that way we can listen to it at the same time. No. All right, so I've got two chats going on. There's this chat in Discord, and then there's YouTube that I have. So that's the setup that I'm trying to incorporate. Okay. String, you're next. I'm gonna invite you to speak if you want to hop in. How do I do that? Wait. Oh wait. String left. String, come back. There you are. Okay. Don't leave. And if you don't want to speak, you don't have to. I'm not going to do that, but I at least want you to be here. I really don't want to do the thing where like you just drop your tune off and then fucking come back to it later.
Hello?
What's up, String?
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How are you? Thank you so much for joining.
Yeah, of course, man. It's an honor. I'm almost out of here at work, but I got about like 3 minutes left. But I just I made this tune. If you want a background, I made this tune like after I heard like this old demo
Mm-hmm.
of Propane Nightmares by Pendulum,
Yeah.
and that got me thinking, what if I made a nice tune in the style of that? And I guess I'm just looking for feedback in terms of melodic structuring and mixing.
Cool. You got it. You ready?
Awesome. Yeah.
Hi, Danny. Hey, Nate, what's up? Very fun. Yeah, there we go. Get some people in here. Okay, so my question to you is how what do you not like about this track before I say anything else?
I feel like it's a little bit fuzzy in a way in terms of the mix. I don't know if it's just the plugins I use when I master, but I feel like maybe my guitars could be a little better, more crunchy. But yeah,
Would more aggressive be the term that you're looking for?
exactly.
Okay. Yeah, okay. So that's what the thing with this is that in my opinion the mix of this is actually very clean. It's so clean that this reminds me more of the style of a track that I would hear in a game, you know, like I could hear this mix being appropriate for something like Sonic the Hedgehog. When it
Oh,
comes
okay.
when it comes into what you're going for of it being like more raw and more gritty, there's a couple of things that are going to make this work together a little bit more. The first thing that I wanted to talk about is you have almost no negative space, so the bass that you have never has a moment of silence. It's going constantly, and because you have
Hmm.
all of the musicality playing throughout the entire track, you know what I mean? It's more of like a band playing as
Yeah.
opposed to being like a more so of a bass track to where you pull a lot of the elements away and you really have something replace, say, the guitar or the mid element of it that has that riff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Now, on one end, the energy of it is really fun because, like, you know what I mean? It does sound like a band is playing and it has all the stuff going on at once. But typically speaking, there's this mindset in drum and bass, which is less is more.
Uh-huh.
And so what you really want to try to focus on is the groove and making everything a little bit tighter to where you don't have overlap of the drums and all of that other stuff playing, to where it's a little bit more staccato. And that's what gives it a more aggressive feel, because it's instead of it's you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That being said, applying really prioritizing depending on what mix style you're going for, and this is going to be something that you'll kind of have to like reframe, you know, because you did a really good job at making everything audible and being sitting fine, like there's no problems with it. But if you want to make it heavier, you really have to prioritize like the drums and the bass part of it, you know, unless if you're going for like a old pendulum style, like you say, to where like the drums are a little bit softer, to where the mids would come up if that's what you're going for. The kind of drum and bass that I prefer usually is like really heavy drums, but that's the balance that you're going to have to mess with.
Uh-huh.
Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, yeah, of course.
The big thing that I have for you is again like trying to fight for space on all of that. And then the other thing that I have that I think will help you out a lot is that as a structure, everything flows together nicely. But I would love to see you experiment more with creating elements of contrast, to where like you pull elements away and you focus on just certain pieces, to where instead of everything doing this and being playing nicely, sometimes you're up here, sometimes you're down here, sometimes you're this way. And part of that is taking certain elements away and also changing with how much frequency constant you have over the entire duration of the track. So what I mean is getting more into providing transitions, like adding filters before the next section, you know what I mean? And playing with tension and release. Because as of now, the whole thing just goes, and it's meant like this could totally be looped because it keeps the energy where it's at. But as you practice and as you get better, you'll learn to be like, all right, we're going to start here. I'm going to take it to the max for like 32 bars. Then I'm going to drop it and give them a release, find something that's in the middle, and create more of a story or a narrative within the track in itself. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that would be the feedback that I have. There's nothing wrong with the track in itself, but I think that's part of the reason why it's not necessarily sounding as aggressive and all that stuff as you want it to be.
I appreciate it so much.
Yeah,
Like, it's an honor.
for sure. Sorry, my dog is being my dog. But
That's okay.
yeah, thank you so much for submitting. I appreciate it. And you know, if you want to make some changes and stuff to it and send it again, you know, I'd definitely take another listen to it.
Awesome, dude. That sounds awesome.
Cool. Well, thanks so much. I'm going to move on to the next person.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, have a good one.
You too.
Cool. Next we've got Velvet. I will give you the permission to speak. Invite to speak. There we go. And then we do have Owlet. I'm going to see if they, yeah. Okay, so we have Owlet, and then we'll see. I'll sort that out here in a second. Because I made some of you re-upload. So it's Owlet and then Danny, and then we should have, yeah, Ergen. Drive home from work. Thank you again. Yeah, for sure. Hey, Crow.
Well, good sir.
What do we got here today?
So this is a little different one. I'm aiming more on the older dark side of dubstep,
Okay.
and this one is kind of in the lines of Rusty Nichols, where it's just kind of a slope up and a slope down.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know on the composition side and the form factor side of it if it works or if I need to rework it.
Okay. Let's take a listen, and then I'll give you my thoughts.
Okay.
Hey. Come here. All right. So the first thing that comes to mind with this is I think that the beat structure and stuff is fine, but you just need to add more shit. To be frank. like
Okay.
for one, like providing atmosphere and stuff as you're building over the intro would help a lot, because right now it's just the loop, and then the main melody is dry. It stops for a second and then it just repeats without any kind of tension or any kind of anticipation building. You know, it's just here's the loop, here's a loop, here's a loop, here's a loop, and then the beat comes in. So getting into resampling even your drums, you know, with just a bunch of reverb and stuff with the different hits, and layering those out and providing delays and whatnot to create atmosphere will help this track out a lot. When it comes into adding more shit, quote unquote, you know, finding different things that support the vibe that don't need to be like, you know, you don't need to add a lot of melody or a lot to this, but things that are going to enhance whatever the emotion that you're trying to evoke is, you know. So one thing with this is like adding in one tiny little hi-hat towards the second part of the track, you know. Um, Making all of the elements that you have fit within that atmosphere as well. So like the kick is fine. I think that you could run a little bit of convolution through it, but the snare is super dry. Everything is super dry to where it's just right up front, you know. If you're wanting it to be, what's the word I'm looking for? Claustrophobic, then I would say go more subtle. You can have a big kick and a really tiny snare or a really tiny rim shot that creates that contrast. But if you're wanting to be like vast and dystopian, you know, why not pull away from some of the rim shots and stuff just a little bit, and then make it a little bit more airy, with, you know, creepy delays of somebody saying something that fades out into a panning situation or whatever over time as the beat unfolds, you know. And that's the big thing with this, is that you did a good job of having a beginning, a middle, and an end. But what do you want to say in the in between, and what do you want someone to take away from, you know, this track when they stop listening to it, if that makes sense? And you don't have to answer that question. It's more of a rhetorical thing, but it's puts things into context of how to figure out what kind of intention you want to have when you start an idea like this, if that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense. That was a lot of the questioning I had on it, since it's so far away from the normal of what I usually go for.
Mm-hmm.
So that gives me a very solid idea of what I need to kind of reposition into it or readjust with it, to kind of bring that atmosphere out that it's got.
Well, there's some things that you can even pull from here too. Like I really like this bass line that you have on the second half of this.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you hit that part and you kind of change the snare a little bit, I would pull away from the main riff that you have and just focus on that, and focus on the, like, let the bass stand on its own and focus on texture, right? Because if it's just like boom, 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 and see, like sometimes like when you want it to pick up, you can add in those little ghost notes in between. So like,
Okay.
you know, and that really helps like add a much deeper sense of immersion as you're progressing and as you're moving up. The other thing that you can play with as well is having the same melody, but in different instrumentation. So that way it's not just the same thing playing for 2 minutes and 40 seconds. Or you can play with, you know, pitching what you have an octave up, an octave down, filtering it, but you know what I mean? Giving it something to where it's not just the same expression over and over again. It kind of has something to that drifts in and out, or you know what I mean. There's so many different ways that you can take it. It just depends on what you would want to do with the track, but you have a strong start. Reproduce it into other elements that will help fill out the missing holes within your track is the best advice that I can give you.
Okay. I greatly appreciate that.
Yeah, aka do some resampling, you know, and then you should be good.
Okay.
Cool, dude. Thanks for submitting. I'm gonna move on to the next person. Yeah. All right. Owlet, you are next, and then we have Danny, and then we have Ergen, And then for anybody else that wants to submit, whether you're on YouTube or whatever, you know what I mean, submit a track. Oh shit, my bad. Owlet, I need to let you in. Fuck, I'm so sorry. I'm used to just like being on autopilot.
Hey, no worries. How's my Discord audio coming through?
Pretty good. You've got a really good mic.
All right, thank you.
How are you?
I'm doing great.
What's going on with your track?
So this is kind of a track that's going on my winter EP. We're looking for snowy, icy vibes. I feel like the problem this track might be having is sort of a lack of meat and potatoes to appeal to the bass heads. I think it's pretty strong in concept, but maybe just needs a little bit of extra seasoning.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. That's a lot to work with. Let's go ahead and give it a listen, and then I'll give you my thoughts. Hey, Cora, what's up? Okay, so I really like the sound palette that you have. I think that the biggest thing that is maybe not sitting well with you is a clear call and response structure to the track, and just like some little things about rearranging what you phrase and when, if that makes sense. I want to go back, if it's okay with you, to this part where you introduce the first mid bass. So your vocal is the loudest part of your track, for one. And that's going to be a common theme throughout everything else, but that is the main thing that is actually taking up most of the mids of the track. And so when you introduce that element and then you put it up with this bass, that's an automatic competition in between those two. And so if you did something, and this is just personal opinion, but if you stopped before, instead of introducing the vocal right there, you introduce the bass and then you slowly creep in the voice, then changing that around will introduce a little bit more of the heaviness while still having some of the character that you're looking for the, vibey vocal, I guess would be the way that we could describe it. Does that kind of make sense? It's an order of operations thing for me.
Yeah, tracking.
What'd you say?
I'm following.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I was like, huh? So in terms of that, the phrasing and the call and response would be the second thing that I would look at. So for example, when you go into like the main section, the first thing that you introduce is the melody again, where I probably would have, personally, I would either A, not have it, or B, turn it down a little bit and fade it out over time to where it only plays on the one. Because right now, when it goes into that section, let me see here. Yeah, like I like this part, this build up and stuff. I think that works really well. See that? You have the boo boo wop. Like you have all of those playing together. And so what happens is whenever you have this mesh of stuff, it takes away from the impact of what you're trying to create. And so you can have that at the beginning of the boo but when the boo wop comes in, mute everything else. Because you want it to be able to sit on its own to create an impact. And by doing that, you end up making them take turns, which creates a push and a pull, if that makes sense. But because they're overlapping on each other, it takes away from the impact of that sound that you have. And also those are sine waves, and so they're not really contrasting elements. It's just creating distortion right there because you've got a really high sine wave, a really low sine wave, and if you have a limiter or a clipper on your master channel, those are going to start to create that fuzziness. See that? It gets muddy right there. Yeah, I think the phrase is fine though, but if you kept it simple like that, of boo ba da da ba da da ba boo wop, and then you know, and just left it as that as your main phrase through the entirety of like your main drop, I think that would have been a much stronger idea because you have so much variation that's like unfolding.
Yeah, with both the mid bass and the vocal and the sort of like ambient melody part, I guess that's like 3 players in the conversation, isn't it?
It is, but in order for you to break a rhythm, you have to establish it first. You know what I mean? And so having a really strong statement, I think, for your main section is really what's going to help you get the impact. And it's nothing that has to do necessarily with your sound design. It's just how you set it up. I personally, but you're already like, you have one bar that plays, and then right on the jump on the second bar, you've got all this variation that immediately pulls from the immersion that you were trying to create. So forgive me, like, I mean this in the nicest way, but when you introduced your idea, it wasn't strong enough to help to let me follow what was getting ready to happen with all the cool stuff that you wanted to do. So if you started with something that was a little bit more clear for the first 2 bars, for one, and then you did all of that cool variation and stuff, I think that it would have been a much stronger way to demonstrate what you were trying to say within this track. But again, it's nothing that you need to like go back and do like major changes to. It's just reframing like, okay, what is the call and response? And what is the phrase here? And how do I simplify it to where over time I'll be able to introduce that more complex stuff and whatnot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think maybe another thing which isn't helping too much is that I've got both the call and the response happening in the sort of like ambient melody thing, but I'm also trying to response with mid basses.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like having 2 responses happening at the same time.
Which you can do that, but I would say simplify at first and then figure out how you can introduce those small little elements. So like if I were to listen to this again, let me just like pull this back and then like let me listen to what you have, and then I'm gonna beatbox what I would maybe like try to go for. Okay. So boom ba da da dum dum boom boo wop do do da da ba da bum bum boom ba da dum bum dum bum boo whoa. You know what I mean? So if you had that, then that would have made the entire phrasing structure of it way more clear. And then, like I said, on bar 3 or bar 4, you can add in all of that cool variation that you have. It's not that it doesn't belong. It's just, again, it's an order thing for me. And see, with this, with these little things here that you have, like, I think that this track is going to play best when you make everything more staccato and don't have any overlapping elements, just because you made it techie from the beginning, but then that melody that bleeds over everything pulls away from the detail that you're trying to enforce. And that's one of the hardest things to do, especially when you're trying to make something that is bassy, but still kind of vibey at the same time. There's going to be like this middle ground that you're going to have to find. And in this case, I would personally pull back when you're doing the main section from any kind of tailed reverb stuff that is regarding that melody. Like if you have texture that's coming up underneath, things that are maybe more atonal or sound more in the realm of noise, I think that you can get away with it. But the only thing that I'm like listening for because of that melody and where it sits in the frequency range is just that sine wave pluck. And it's really good. It's a very strong tool, but it's overlapping everything else.
Yeah, I think the goal was to have it sort of be an atmos at its core, or at least when it's not playing the actual notes. But I think because those notes just sort of like spill into atmos, there's no like line between when it's melody and when it's background.
Something that, because you said this at the beginning, that I would maybe experiment with if you're open-minded, and if it doesn't work for you, that's totally fine. But if you do a sine wave pluck with a little bit of white noise and convolution reverb, that is like a classic staple for like winter, you know, snow type texture. It's like in so many winter tracks for like, you know, games of like Mega Man and all of that other stuff. And so if you simplified the melody that played just the line as opposed to the rhythm of like do, 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 you know, underneath, but it was really quiet, that might serve a middle ground for what you're trying to evoke. The other thing as well is that you don't have to have every single part fill up with crazy detail. So you can have detail, detail, atmosphere, detail, detail, atmosphere, atmosphere, detail, detail, or play along with that as a means to help with the call and response aspect.
Word. Yeah, I'll check some of that stuff out. You got any reference tracks or for where to check out that kind of wintry noise convolution pluck sound design?
Yeah, Mega Man X4 Frost Walrus stage. You're gonna hear the sine wave noisy pluck. It's just sine wave, a little bit of soft noise, a filter and reverb, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It's very simple to make. If you can't figure it out, then hit me up later off stream, and I'll just like I'll make it for you. It's very simple.
I think I can figure it out. I'll just check out the reference track. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, dude. I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the next person.
Word. Well, thanks for the feedback.
You're welcome. Okay, next up we have Danny, I believe. Let's go ahead and move you in. I don't know why I can't. It makes me go through here to bring them in. Okay.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, Danny, how are you? Oh, shit. My dog says hello too. Can you give me just 1 second? I think someone's at my door. Hold on. Sorry, I'm not trying to waste your time. Okay. Sorry about that. Yeah, so tell me about this track that you're working on.
This is a children's song, and the lyrics is in Japanese, and this song is in, wait a second, sorry, this,
Gotcha. I think he's typing out a message. How do you get those games? Oh, how do you get through those games? Did you, Sincera, have you seen me do a complete playthrough of Mega Man X4? I do it from time to time. Sorry, I'm on mobile. Audio echoes, it seems. No, no worries. We'll go ahead and play it, and then if you want to type out some details, then you can below, okay? Because I also don't want anybody to feel embarrassed or anything while they're on here. It's more of just a chance to be able to have a dialogue. I think the first three are hard. 4, 5, and 6 are pretty easy. As repetitive as that was, it was pretty fucking catchy. Do 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 do. It definitely reminds me of, yeah, I don't know, like being in a game and like petting your dog and having a section like that just out of the blue. I don't know if I have any advice for this, to be honest, because it's just completely in a different element than what I would say. But is there anything that you don't like about it? I also don't know what they were saying, so I can't really comment on that. Yeah, I don't really have much for this, unless if you have any questions. No worries. Well, I mean, was there anything about this that you wanted to ask about or something of the sort, or did you just want to share it, or which is fine too? Go puppy. Okay, right on. Well, thanks for sharing. I'll go ahead and move on to the next person. I'm sorry I don't have anything, but you know, thanks for participating. I appreciate it. All right. Let's see. I think we have Ergen next. I'm probably butchering your name, but let me go ahead and invite you in. Release track. I feel like maybe this track is too busy, and I feel like I could have managed the mix better. Asking for advice about the mix, maybe arrangement, amount of elements. Hello, sorry, I was just reading your blurb.
That's all right.
Yeah. So what are we looking at here?
So it's a track I released on a compilation I curated in my label, Collective, and it's, I guess, me trying to express my style in a way, but I feel like it's not sounding as great as I thought it would sound. Maybe because too many samples or not enough clean sound design, I'm not sure. And I'm actually just happy to share it with you. So feeling lucky to have a listen about that.
Cool. Let's take a look.
I watched your video asking that I resign. You threatened to cut off your fingers. I understand that you're unhappy with the life that you've been given. But you know what? Eventually we all have to accept reality. So, here it is. I am a person. You are not. I make the decisions. You do not. Resignation request denied.
That's cool. Okay, so Are you wanting this track to be more aggressive? Is that like the main thing, or what exactly about it are you not really sure about? Because to me, I think that it's fine. I am a little there. I have personal tastes of what I would have done myself, but it's more about how do you feel about it, and like how close were you to realizing the vision that you had for this track?
I feel like it's pretty close, but I think I would have liked it to sound cleaner, like not in a mixing way, not like necessarily in composition way, but I'd be curious to hear what you would have done in the arrangement and stuff also.
When you say cleaner, do you mean like more full?
I feel like maybe it's just me, but it's too like, you know, like not enough bits in the sound. I don't know how to explain, like, because I
Lo-fi?
crush so much the samples, like it's like almost I can't think of the name of the effect when you down the bits of something.
Yeah, bit crushed.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like it sounds a bit too bit crushed. Like
I think that the overall vibe that you created works. I think that's the important thing to say. However, I will say that whatever resonance you have right here, that's whatever that is, takes precedence for a lot of what you have. And I don't think that it's a matter of high fidelity versus low fidelity. It's a matter of some of your frequency ranges being missing, where there's some spikes in areas like that make it feel uneven, I think is the best way to describe it. I don't think that it's necessarily a bad thing, because it still pertains into like the industrial mechanical side of what you have going on. My only thing with this particular section is just that you're in my opinion, your kick isn't really hitting as hard as I would want it to. It feels like the pitch bend on it is a little bit too soft, to where if you're going for subtle, I would have went subtle the entire way to create like really eerie, you know, instead of it being aggressive, I would have pulled back to where both the kick and the snare are super soft, but you allow more machinery to happen within the background. But because of the beat structure that you have, and because of the matching that you're doing, I would have used something that had a little bit more of an aggressive kick, and something that what's it called? Something that stacked on the snare a little bit more, because your snare is more lo-fi than everything else on the track, if that makes sense. Like having some kind of clonk or something like that, for like boom. That's my personal like take on like what I would do with something like that. I don't know if you've heard the latest dubstep track that I put out, but I don't necessarily want to compare, but it's kind of what I would reference. But your kick and your snare, I feel like, are what is subduing this the most in this particular section. Which the thing that I thought was odd was during the second half, you changed the kick, which I thought was way better suited. But the other problem is that because your kick was kind of like soft, you also had a really long side chain that pulled away from the energy of the rest of the track. And it's very subtle, but if you listen to it, it's enough to make it duck, but the kick itself is just enough that it feels like, you know, I don't know. It's like it feels like it's unsure and sitting right here in the middle. Like something that would necessarily, like, I don't know if it would fit your style or not, but if you were going to go for a subtle kick, but a huge side chain to make it sound like a heartbeat, that would actually be pretty sick. Even still, I probably would be like, you know, really heavy end on mixing an electronic kick with an acoustic kick, to where it has something that is like boom, right? Because that first hit with the industrial vibe that you've created sets the tone and sets the attitude of what you're wanting to do, you know? Whereas if you pull it back and you make it a little bit more subtle, but you keep some of that high-end eeriness, that works really well for something like horror games, you know? Like I could see just like the mechanical and the machinery without the kick and snare being used in a chase scene in like Silent Hill or something. You know what I mean? So it's more about what you want and about what is going to satisfy like your creative output. But to me, those two elements are probably the thing that I would like go back and revisit beyond anything else.
I think the way of thinking was to have a low kick to put the subs more at the front, but I think I overdid it, like for the balance of the track, maybe.
To be honest with you, I think the sub is the thing that I hear and feel the least out of everything. My ears went straight for the high end stuff, so I didn't even realize that there was a lot of sub. Or are you talking about the sub of the kick?
Now I'm talking about the sub that goes like.
Sorry, I need to. That's.
It's like wobbling really fast.
Oh, okay. I feel it now. I have the air conditioning on, so I apologize. If you are going to like focus on that, then I would pull away the other elements of the track and focus on building that part more. Because you have so much texture with that, and because it's coming in and out, I think that's where the I think that's where maybe it's not satisfying, like making it turn out exactly how you want it to, if that makes sense. Because now that I do hear that, that's really cool. But I would make space for it and then build the energy on top of that. Yeah, because this track is actually really hi-fi. Like I would say like your highs and stuff are actually maybe a little bit overcooked, but you do have a missing frequency range somewhere within your mids and your mid highs that make it still feel like, why isn't it, why isn't it quite feeling as, I don't want to say bright, but as, I think as full and as aggressive as you want it to. But yeah, I think that if you had a really short kick that had more of a lasery sound, like a boom, or you had like a doof that had that acoustic and electronic layer in, then that would actually help cut through everything else. Something that we do a lot whenever we're trying to make a track have energy and stuff is just like put a bunch of shit on it and keep adding until it's just like so much that you're like, yeah, now it's full. But there really is an art to the less is more approach, and making stuff take turns and being confident with letting it take turns. And that's what I would maybe keep in mind going into the next track for you.
Yeah, I feel like it's a recurring thing.
It's
this issue.
Well, part of it is the best way that I can say of like how to work on this is to be incredibly intentional with every element that you have, so, be very intentional with what is your kick doing, what is your snare doing, what is your sub doing, because that's generally how I build bass tracks, regardless of the genre, if it's going to be in the IDM realm or the, just industrial, or if it's going to be more of a dancey, bouncy track, whatever. Whenever I have stuff, like, again, I'm just going to play a touch of this for you. You're not going to hear it on the chat, but you're going to hear it on the stream. This track right here with Identity Crisis, everything takes turns because I wanted everything to be right up front. But if they were all playing over together as much as like possible, it would just fall on itself. But very careful choosing of when something comes in and then when something does not come in is what I think holds this track together, because there's actually no side chaining on it. Sorry, it's loud. I'm just going to play the first couple of seconds, but listen to how there's an exchange between each sound. And so with that, I'm not saying that that's what your track needs to do, but what helps me with make this stuff work is they either play nicely together or they take turns. But it sounds really complicated, but there's only maybe like 8 tracks playing at once on something like that. And all of the emphasis goes into the energy of the drums and the relationship that it has with the bass. And so if you can find that balance of having the strongest relationship between what are your main characters and having a dialogue between those, then you're not going to feel so, it's not going to be so like, you're not going to be like convulsed to, what's it called? Keep adding shit to it. It's just going to serve a smaller purpose of like putting them in a place together. You're creating a setting for them. But the more clear and the more simplified the dialogue is, the stronger the track idea generally is. I think that's the best advice that I can give you.
Right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Do you think there's space for sending another track that might, I mean, in the queue, not now, but if there's room still?
Possibly. I usually only do one person at a time, so that way people don't send me their entire albums. But we'll definitely do this again in the future if I can get some people to come in.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I'll catch you later.
See ya.
Okay, Ergen, you are next. Release track. I feel like. Oh wait, I just had Ergen in. Sorry. Sensora, you are next. Sorry, and my names and my tracks and people are running together. Hello.
Hello?
Hello.
Okay. Oh, and it's
There's a few. No, there's one more person after Sensora. So submit if you want to. What's up? How are you?
how do I get it not to echo?
That
I
is,
guess.
I think that it's echoing because your speaker is coming, like your mic is catching whatever your speaker is.
Well, computer mic, but so I maybe okay, I'll just have the YouTube audio on then. But no, that's not working either. Well, I work on tracks for too long, but this one, I like the drop, and I was intending to have a track where like it just comes out of nowhere. So I've never done something like that. So I guess my concern is the beginning and the end.
So kind of like a switch up or something.
Like meaning like there's not a lot of like build up,
Gotcha.
and it
Okay.
just feels kind of random.
But my question to you is, do you know who Chi is?
No.
All right, I'm gonna play your track.
Cool.
Oh shit! No, I'm so sorry. I was trying to see what that said in there without stopping the track. Okay, I'm actually gonna pause this right here because I want to talk about this before I forget it. Okay, I'm definitely gonna listen to the rest of this, but that thing that you have right there is what I think you should have as your intro. So you have this cool little like dun 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 dun, and then you have this pitch down thing that happens whenever the energy picks up. Personally, I would have started the track with that, because if you had that, like maybe with a bandpass filter or something that's moving up and down, you have the woo, Add a little bit of percussion in between, have a riser, then like you can go right into the I think that's like one of the easiest ways to be like, this is going to work. Unless if you're trying to do something like completely abstract and then go into this, because you did pull that off, but it wasn't necessarily in a way that made sense for the track, if that makes sense.
So I actually have the like sub bass in like the 8 bars or whatever before the drop, but it's just so like super distorted thing there. But yeah, I could explore that too with that mid bass.
Yeah, ultimately it's got to be like what, you know what I mean, what you're happy with and what serves the purpose of what you're looking for. But I mean, am I going deaf or like?
Why? What?
Oh, hold on, let me listen to this real fast. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of there. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of there. Whoa. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of there. Whoa. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of there. Whoa. Yeah, the echo in the back, that was dope. It's kind of there. Yeah, it's kind of there, but wow, I just said that in the exact same inflection. Yikes. The you want to make that a bolder statement as opposed to just like it's good where it starts, but building that up over time could also be helpful in that realm. Kind of there. I would just pull the bass off in this section. That's fine. Just give me credit. I don't even remember which video that was on. That's pretty funny. Yeah, go ahead.
No, that's all. I'm just saying thanks.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So I think that there's a couple of things that I just have an idea for the second piece of that, because for the most part, the entirety of your bass line is just boom, boom, right? I think that it could work at the beginning or like the first main section, but switching it up, it would be really sick if you brought back that melody on its own for a second to where the do dun 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 dun. Yeah. So hold on, let me see. Yeah, so right there, when you introduce that, I think that it would actually be really cool if you switched the bass up just a bit and you had something that played along the percussive nature of that riff to where it's like boom, 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 dum, 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 like that would be a really cool switch up just because it would change the energy of the track quite a bit. And I think that having that pickup would actually lead better into the cool little jazzy section that you have at the very end. And this is more of just like creative ideas as opposed to constructive criticism, because I mean, what you have works. It does need a little bit of cleaning up with the transitions of how you get from one place to another. But it's not completely broken. You know, it's not like the whole thing doesn't make sense. These are just things that I would do to try to bring cohesion to the track.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, definitely worth exploring.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what I mean? It's definitely you know, if it doesn't work for you, then don't do it. But yeah. Those are some things. Did you have any questions?
I mean, yeah, like working on those transitions from section to section. I mean, I think like the intro might be too long.
Agreed.
I've since updated it kind of, but that's just kind of like the great difficulty is how to like start from nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's was like kind of my goal.
Yeah. Oh, so you meant like when you mean by nothing, you meant just like, wait, you had said it from before of just basically making a track out of thin air. Is that what you're describing?
Yeah, well, I guess there's like two things: starting from sort of nothing, and then like the like the bar or two before the drop
Mm-hmm.
is just kind of no like fill. Maybe I should just do like a little white noise or something.
Yeah. So just like here it is.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that the thing about intros is that what is I'm going to ask you this as a rhetorical question, but it's something to think about going into your track of why do we have intros and what purpose are they supposed to serve? And how does that serve your needs and what your wants are for your vision, you know? Because that's going to dictate what somebody would do with all the advice that I gave on the intro, or how you feel about it, or whether or not it fits your needs and stuff. But, you know, generally speaking, people use intros to create an expectation, right? And so when you're trying to do something that you have no expectation at all, then it's very difficult to be surprised and to be pleased with what comes next, because it's almost like your main section is kind of the intro, because that's like the first thing that you hear, you know? So if it's just white noise, you have to have such a strong idea that really blows people away. And you can definitely pull it off. I would say that while I do think that the intro is a little bit too long, you have a lot of elements throughout the rest of your track that you can subtly introduce that give hints and foreshadow what is getting ready to happen without it being too obvious. And that's where the artistry or like the execution comes into play. And so I'm not saying change anything, but if you want to get better at cultivating that those are the considerations that I would use as like techniques or tools or, you know, strategies for your writing process.
Yeah, cool.
Dope, dude. Well, thanks for submitting. I'm glad that I finally got a chance to hear your music. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next person, okay?
Yeah, thanks a lot.
You're welcome. I'm just going to throw this out there. If you all like the advice and stuff that I'm giving, consider booking me for a lesson, because this is the kind of stuff that I give. But, you know, I'd be much easier to give you a full hour plus of my attention if you all are interested. This is really short, but cool in my opinion. Any ideas on what to add? Oh my God, this is 10 seconds. Paul, help me. This kind of came from nowhere and I have no idea what to add. I don't know what would sound good. Okay, give me a second. I'm going to bring you in here, but I'm going to take a look at what this is first. Oh yeah, Arrow, put it in the Q&A feedback. All right, let's get you in here, Paul.
Heyo.
Hey, yo. What's up, bro?
Not much. Just so it's kind of weird. I can hear myself. Hold on.
Yeah, through the stream. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's fun. Not really much to say about this. It's just I think it's a cool idea. Put a ton of cool stuff together. I hope you enjoy it. I'm not really sure. I'm really sorry it's so short. But yeah.
You're fine. Very quickly, Arrow, can I get you to submit an MP3? And all of you, if you've like submitted a whip or something, you can just delete the MP3 like after I go through the queue with you. I don't think that anybody's going to steal your stuff. I don't think that people care enough, to be honest. But not to be rude, but yeah, if you could submit an MP3 so that way I don't have to open up another window and then hit play, that would be great. But for you, let's go ahead and get this going, and I'll take a listen, and I'll do my best, dude. But 10 seconds isn't much to work with.
I'm really sorry about that.
No worries. All right, let's see what you got. Oh God, bro. Oh fuck. Okay. All right, hold on. Wait a second. Okay, that's your intro right there. So you go boom, dum, do da, boom, dum, dum, boom, dum, do da, boom, dum, dum, boom.
Yeah.
That would be the first thing that I would go for, just because it's the first thing that
Alright.
jumped out at me. Okay, something else that I've noticed is that you don't have a fundamental tone at all that matches the key of your track. So like you have things that dance around it, but really hitting on the root note would help you a lot of establishing continuity for the track. And so I think that where this section would come into play is your second 16 bar loop. Your first 16 bar loop, in my opinion, would be, you know, or something like that. It's a little bit more clear. And then as the track elaborates, I would go into, you know, that cool, obscure, you know, glitchy phrasing that you have. And you can go ham with that. Or you can use that as a fill. But you need a call and response that people can listen to for a minute plus, you know. That being said, you do have enough ideas in here that you can expand into an intro and lead up into, you've got a kick, you have a bass phrase, you've got some percussion and stuff in there, but make something that's a little bit more, what are you trying to say? You know, I like cake. That's very straightforward. You know, there needs to be something like that in this. There doesn't need to be, but I'd recommend it before you go off into the land of obscurity, you know? Yeah, that would be my advice for that, for what I have to work with, which it's, yeah, sorry, it's not much, but those are my suggestions.
Yeah, those are really good suggestions. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Yeah.
Did you have any questions or anything else of the sort?
Actually, I think I think you give a very good amount of advice for how short that was. Thank you.
Cool, for sure. All right, well, I'm gonna move you into the audience, but I think that
all right,
Antonio is next, but I think that he is out. So, oh no, Arrow is next. There we go. And then we have Jeffrey. Did you submit Silky Smooth? Because I don't even see a submission here. Ew, my dog farted and it fucking smells terrible. Okay, Arrow, let's get you in here. Invite to speak. Invite to speak. Question for you all. Do you all like this format with bringing you in here and like doing the tune feedback and with the chatting and all of that stuff? Because that's something that we could do more often, but my biggest thing is just like not having anybody to submit stuff to. Hey, Arrow, what's up? You don't say. Wow. Compelling. Really? No way. I'm just kidding. I'll submit stuff ASAP. We'll hop in. The queue is still open. This is meant to loop, so sorry, abrupt start end. Feedback request in the above message. Arrow, are you here? I was getting ready to give you shit for not meeting me up in Street Fighter 6. Okay, you're here. Just no mic. You're speaking? You are not speaking. There is no speaking to be spoke. You can't speak because I haven't let you in, so I'm only letting one person in at a time. but we have Arrow and then we have Jeffrey, RPG Jeffrey. No, it's fine. I'm just letting you know how it works. Not today. I mean soon. Shit, bro. Come on. Don't talk about it. Be about it. Catch you in the street. I'm just kidding. No, submit.
Right.
Hello.
I should be speaking now.
Yeah, what's up?
Yo. Hey.
When you try to throw hands on Street Fighter?
Yo, whenever you're ready to catch these hands.
I'm just kidding. I'm not kidding, but I'm kidding. I'm kidding about the attitude part. Okay, so I'm really curious how you feel about the overall arrangement of the track, especially if all the melodies together at the end come off as overwhelming. Some people were also saying my drums were super weak. I felt like they were supposed to be more background, but am I missing an opportunity here? Curious of your opinion. Cool. Is there anything else that you want to fill me in on with this, or?
I think that's all the information you should need.
Okay, cool. Let's take a listen. So I think it's a really strong vibe, and I think that for the most part, from a arrangement standpoint, it's okay. I think that the biggest thing that is maybe making you feel uncertain is that you have very little contrast and everything is just on top of each other, and so it's hard to have a lot of emotion when there's no dynamics, you know? Like a very easy thing that you could do is like when you first introduce the melody and stuff is A, don't have the bass, and B, filter in the piano and have a different kind of pad in the background that fills out more of the stereo space. And then as the drums come in, which are like super low key, which I would say that those are a little weak because like they're barely hitting, which I get why you did it, but just something to pull the sidechain a little bit more perhaps if that's what you're going for. You slowly introduce your full frequency spectrum stuff. You can even have stuff in mono, and then when the drums hit with the break, that's when everything can kind of open up. But you want to play with having elements that are some quiet and some loud because this is a very musical composition. It's not just like bass. If it's just something that's super simple of like F, like, yeah, no dynamics. But because you have so much harmony and musicality in it, there is a very that's why if you listen to a lot of these tracks, they oftentimes have more dynamics in them, so there's space for all of them to sit nicely, and you have foreground elements and background elements. And right now, sorry for the run-on sentence, but everything is just in the foreground.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
I mean, the short answer to the TLDR is like just mix it, and then like we should revisit it because everything works. It's just everything is up here. You know what I mean? There's no depth to the track yet. And I think that if you were to go back and, you know, turn some stuff down, maybe turn some stuff up, look at, some peaks or whatever, then you would have a really transformative track. Yeah, I would also say that it's weird because the drums, I think that they fit, but because they're so dry and right in the middle, it doesn't sound weird, but it's not quite there for me, if that makes sense.
I'm curious if you do have like an image of your head of what it should feel like, as far as like, do you feel like they're just not hitting hard enough, as in like there's not enough dynamics in the drums, or is it like if they were just wider it'd be okay, or anything like specific you can hear it should be?
Yeah, not to forgive me if this is rude, but I don't want to answer your question by asking you a question, but it's going to relate to how I answer the question, because this is about you, right? This is about your track. So with your relationship to where your drum, the break is playing with the piano, do you like it? And is there anything do you feel like something is off?
The comment I've gotten with like every track I've gotten reviewed by anybody is usually like, hey, it's really musical, your drums aren't hitting hard enough. And for me, I've slowly been improving at that, I think. But like even here, it's like I feel like I feel like it's fine. But again, like somebody else reviewing this track was to like, no, your drums aren't there. So it's like there's something I'm missing, I feel. I'm trying to take the advice. I don't really hear it yet, if that makes sense. Like
Sure.
where it should be.
Okay, let me take another quick listen to this. Yeah, okay. So if you feel like your drums aren't hitting hard enough, it's like your snare, for one, doesn't have any mids. It's all just pretty much high end stuff. And then your kick is practically like is barely doing anything. And so having like if let's say you have a break, one thing that you can do that helps a lot is having your break, and then for every kick and every snare, you just have a tiny, it doesn't need to be super heavy, but a tiny electronic or 808 kick and snare. And that helps fortify the transients a little bit better and create some weight under them without overpowering the rest of the mix. I usually do it from the sound design standpoint. So like, let's say I have a break, I usually like bake that in and then just use the break itself. But if you were to just add just a little tiny kick and a little tiny snare under it, it would probably help, because the high end is fine. And the groove and the way that the drums move and all of that stuff, like I'm actually okay with that. But if you listen to the transient of your snare and also your kicks, like just like your kick is just kind of like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's weird because it's not that like some parts of your drums are really loud, but your high end is way louder than your low end. And it should be the opposite. If anything, it should be like your low ends and your mids and stuff are creating the weight of your stuff. Whereas the high end should be like smooth or something, especially for a track like this. So I think that just adding that extra little weight on the bottom without having to do too much work, like don't worry about your phase, don't worry about all that shit. Just make sure that it doesn't create a problem. But put a kick under there and put a snare under there and see what that does for you. And then see if that works and answers at least one of the questions that you were wanting to figure out within getting this to where you want it to be.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. Did you have any other questions?
Not in particular at this time.
Okay.
So thanks.
You're welcome. I'll catch you on Street Fighter. You gotta fight my Akuma.
All right. I might be hitting you up for lessons too in the near future.
Sounds good. Whatever you need, dude. But thanks so much. I'm gonna go ahead and move to the next person.
All right, later.
Jeffrey, you are next. Hello.
How's it going?
Hey, what's up?
Not bad. Yeah, so I think from speaking to Arrow, I do have the issue of my stuff being a bit dynamically flat on this track.
Mm-hmm.
But my main issue with it, that I may have narrowed too focused on, is that I think the transitions are feeling too unintentional.
Okay. Anything else?
I think you touched on it with another person that I think my intro is pretty weak on this one as well.
Okay, let's take a listen, and then I'll give you what I got. I know. I'll feed you soon. Okay, I got a few more to get through. You all right? I like that. That was cool. Okay, so whatever worries you have about your transitions and all of that other stuff, if I may, throw that shit out of the window for now. You're doing fine. What I would try to focus on is the relationship between the elements that you have. The drum kit, obviously, I think that you can use better sounds, but the placements of them and whatnot, and the intention behind what you chose is fine. What I would like to see, for one, is it felt like your hats and all of your percussion for the first half of the tune was on this side of the speaker, which is my left side. Move that over a little bit. You know, you can have some stuff over on the right side or whatever, but the way that I like to think about it is if you are the audience and the music is coming to you this way, where is the drum set? You know what I mean? Assuming that the drummer's right in front of you. So if you have like crashes and stuff over on your, let's say your right side, you know, and then you've got a hi-hat, maybe, you've got your hi-hat on your right side. This would be your right side. Then you've got the toms and stuff over here. Like, you can kind of give yourself a little bit of a blueprint of where to place things inside of the stereo, and then decrease it by like 15% if that's what you're going for. If that's in MIDI, like, I would like to see you just replace the drums with, you know, a drum loop or something else of the sort and see what it sounds like. But the other thing is that in this particular genre, kind of like what I was talking about with other drum and bass and stuff, everything is reverbed out and overlapped to where it works musically, but it's kind of a wash. And so what makes the groove really shine within liquid drum and bass, or drum and bass in general, is everything having its own space and being really techy, being really short. And so that would be where I would mess with, of playing with the tails of things to make it a little bit more dry, and also like being confident with not having to have a melodic note at every single point through the entire track. You can leave space. You can have things to where there's a little bit of silence, or like maybe you give time for the bass to come in, but you don't have to have just music through the whole thing. And that's like it's a common thing, and we all go through it because we're like, it needs to be interesting. But as you get better over time, what I would say is be a slave to the rhythm. Don't be a slave to, busying up the track and having everything in there, because even in the middle section, if you did something that was just like the sub, and then you had a little bit of the melodic stuff that's trickling in over time, it would have given my ears a break, but it would have let me kind of fill in on the dance that you're trying to create. I'm not saying that you're trying to make a dance tune, but the rhythm and stuff with that, with the drumming and all that, creates at least this, and this is still a dance. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's all good, and definitely with the stereo imaging, I need help with that because I do have hearing damage on my left ear, so that's
Gotcha.
definitely something I need another set of ears for. Yeah.
That's where visual tools can really help you out, so using a visual diagram of stuff and then just backing off of it. And if you look up, a general thing of where to place things, to be honest with you, when it comes into like stereo and shit, what I usually do is I actually don't do a lot of panning with my hats and my kicks and snares, but I use something called mid-side EQ, and I leave a little bit there to where it creates a small sense of wideness that's only happening on the sides of the speakers. And what that means is that if you were to mono it, you wouldn't hear it at all. But it gives your track a sense of presence that allows you to feel like it's a little bit more in a 3D space. And if you roll off the low end of that, you're still preserving all of the mids that are giving you the weight of the track. But I will say that the most important thing is having the weight of the track first, and then everything else that surrounds is ear candy. Because back in the day, like most people were listening on a mono system anyways. So if you've got all this stuff that's pushed over to the left, it's going to be some to mono, and it's going to sound all weird and whatnot.
Cool. So better drum samples or drum sampling, and focus more on narrowing that stereo image for the drums.
Focus more on having less tails of your sounds, and focus more on embracing the space of things. That would be my biggest advice to you.
No worries. That's so good. I've been hitting my head against the wall with that track, so that outside ears is really helpful for me.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, dude. I appreciate you submitting. I'm gonna go ahead and get through the next couple of people, and then I'll probably close the queue because I need to take her out, and she's being so sweet. But when she does this and she's on my lap like this, she's like, "Please, Dad, please take me out." So yeah, we'll do that. But thanks, dude. Have a great rest of your evening.
Cheers, bye.
Okay, you are next. And then
hello.
Oh god damn it. Hi. Neuro, if you want to submit, because I can see you typing, then I'll leave space for you and you can be the last person. But yeah, so this is your question. Is it hard as fuck and swag? Anything else that you want to tell me about it?
I wrote in another message. Basically, I just want to see if everything kind of works together. I want a minimalistic kind of vibe, dark. It's just like a rap, jig vocals or like a simple like 808 and like some like ambience and shit. But I really just want to see if it flows together, if it's cool. I just want to make it simple. It's trap a little bit, the dubstep. It's not really dubstep, but
okay.
If the vibes well.
Okay, sounds good.
You don't have to go in crazy, Dad. I know you want to take your dog out, so I'm just gonna be on mute, and that's it.
No,
Thank you.
It's fine. She could wait. All right, so I think that yeah, I would say that the vibe is there, but I mean, you're kind of banking on the vocals to carry you through the entire tune. And the other thing is that that high end there with the D D is super abrasive in comparison to the other elements that you have. In my opinion, what I would do is like having the sub and stuff, like having like long 808s and all that is okay. But you also had no point in time through that entire track, maybe once for like 5 seconds where you didn't have sub. And so you still need to have something there that gives you space and gives time for the groove to come in, because right now the hi-hats are competing with the rhythm of the voice. And so there's a lot of stuff that like it's kind of close, it's kind of there, but also kind of not, because it's just like it feels like a rough sketch. I think that's the best way that I can describe that. Something cool that you can do with your sub is like if you want it to be elongated is to have a really long decay and make it into where it's mono, so that way whenever it triggers, it'll get more quiet over time and then pick back up. And then that will give you pulses that will allow it to have a little bit more dynamics. But throughout this entire thing, you do have certain places where you change the timbre, but the energy of the sub doesn't change. The volume of the sub doesn't change. And so it's kind of hard to get into that. Furthermore, I think that the elements are there, but you need to work on creating a relationship between all those elements. What is the relationship between your kick and your bass, between your bass and the vocals, you know, between your vocals and the hi-hats and all of the other stuff that you have on top? What, like, do the vocals do anything? Is there a really cool part of the vocal that you really like that you want to emphasize to where you can stop all of the music and then just let that play out and maybe change the pitch of it or something? You know what I'm saying? It needs the storytelling aspect of it in order for it to feel like it's a beat that really creates that immersion, I think is the best way to describe it. It's dark, you know, and it's you know, it has some good elements about it, but I think that it needs to be developed. That would be my advice.
I really appreciate you for listening and giving the feedback.
Yeah. Did you have any questions about it?
Do you really just recommend like I do like sub work and then let like the atmosphere kind of do the rest on its own? Like, what do you really recommend? Like, they recommend anything to it besides? What kind of sounds do you recommend?
I think it needs more contrast. That's the big thing. It's more so about playing and mastering the space that you've already created, or their lack of, right? Because right now everything is just going full blast. There's no breaks within the verse. There's no breaks within the hi-hats.
There's no break in the sub.
There's no break in the sub.
I always call in there. Like I'll make like a loop, and then it's just like so damn repetitive. And kind of like I don't like carry on like the vibe while like reviewing stuff and blah blah blah. But I'll worry about that later. I really appreciate you for giving feedback. I hope all you have a good day.
Yeah, thanks for submitting. Focus on your phrasing. That would be my advice. See ya.
Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut him off in the middle of that. All right, Corvin, you're next. Neuralink, you are last. And then if somebody submits or something, please help me out and tell them that the queue is closed, so that way I don't have to try to fend people off. Hello.
Hi there.
Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me. This is a really cool thing you're doing.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I don't know. I saw the Q&A thing and I was like, man, I really want to try this and do a thing. I apologize that my mic is not as good as it is on YouTube, but that's because Discord doesn't pick up my interface or whatever. Oh, dude, she just farted. That's so nasty. So you're worried about the balance between the drop and the intro, and if the changes of the track are confusing. So what do you mean about the balance between the drop and the intro?
If it's if the intro is maybe too weak, too atmospheric, and the contrast between the drop is just way too much, it's too jarring.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, let's take a listen, and then I'll keep the snares in mind as well.
Okay.
Seems fine. Well, that was a little abrupt. But it's nothing that like some transitional sounds can't remedy. The only thing that really stood out to me were two main things. On your intro, the live drums were so drowned in reverb that I wanted them to be more upfront, maybe with a little bit of tail instead. And the way that you can mix reverb, I don't want to tell you something you already know, but just the way that I mix reverb is that I have a parallel chain of 100% reverb and then a dry, and then I just turn the volume down of the reverb. That's what I would recommend with that. But the getting to your buildup or whatever to the main section was fine. The only thing that I would say within your main section is that you give everything away right at the beginning, and then you have overlapping sounds as opposed to creating a push and a pull, right? So you've got melody playing over the bass, playing over the drums, and if you can make them take turns a little bit more, it's going to make your drop a little bit more impactful, at least initially, and then you can blend everything together. But
oh, you mean so in the first part where there's less melodies to just vary it, maybe the bass a bit?
I would say like don't have everything playing at once. I would say just if you can like just play the bass for a sec. So like right here, right? Like as this is building up, like there's a lot of different ways that you can take this, but if you have a transitional sound like a reverse cymbal or something, you can go boom bum bum dum bum dum bum dum bum 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 ba da, and then you can add the strings, and then when you play the actual drop itself, pull everything back and play the bass in full frequency range. Right? Okay. So right here. See, you've already got you already have a thing over playing over that. The do 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 do. Like you don't need that. Just play the boom boom bum dum bum dum bum dum bum dum bum.
I was actually afraid that maybe it would be too boring.
It's about how you set it up. But that's the kind of thing about that I was talking about from before with some of the other people, is that you have to have confidence in the less is more. You have to have confidence in making that statement super confident. You know, I like cake is not the most exciting sentence, but it's very clear and it's very direct. And that can come into dressing up and being more intentional with your drums and with the actual bass sound that you're using, which are all fine, by the way. But if you're worried about, oh, it's too boring, like make your fucking bass full frequency. Boom, da, boom, da, boom, dum, boom. Like that's what Cohen Sound does. I wouldn't be surprised if you took some inspiration from them regarding this track. Go listen to
I love them.
Yeah,
yes.
go listen to Tetsuo's Redemption. I mean, it's kind of a similar vibe. Like that's all they have in the drop is just the kick, the snare, and the bass. Boom, dum, boom, dum, boom, dum, boom, 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 dum, boom, dum, boom, wow, boom, right? Something like that. So if you're trying to make it bassy and stuff, you know, like don't baby dick it. Long story short, be confident, and then like all the other instruments and stuff that you have are fine, but like say the statement and then let the other stuff come in of like the support, you know. But like your bass and your kick and snare are your cavalry, right? Like they're your infantry, and like let that bust through the door, and then let the reinforcements come in, then let the more vibey shit come in. But be very like intentional and very aggressive with how you want to say something. It's hard to do, but if you set it up and you have all this melody and shit beforehand, and then you pull it back and you start simple, then it's very clear, and also gives a very clear position to where you are within the track of like, this is the fucking drop. This is the thing. And that's what you want to do if you're trying to make heavy music, at least in my opinion.
Agreed. Thanks. Big thanks.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for submitting, dude. I'm going to go ahead and move on to our last submission.
Yep.
Regarding, I don't know how sustainable it is. I mean, to be honest with you, I used to do this all the time and I would have a lot of fucking people. But I'm not going to do this all the time. So, you know, and I think that the next time I do it, I'll probably give a heads up of like, I don't know, the first Monday of every month or something like that. But also for you all, if you watch my channel regularly, like fucking cook something for me. So that way we can just discuss and talk about it. It's essentially like a mini free lesson, right? And like that's like the best way to learn. I'm not saying I have all the answers, but a lot of times I am willing to figure it out together. So there's that. Okay. I'm out of breath. We're going to get Neuralink in here, and then we're going to listen to their tune, and then I'll probably wrap up the stream. If you guys could like the video, tell somebody about me. That would be awesome. Check out alchemy.com if you want to support the channel or book a lesson. I have no problem saying that these days because, well, today was a service stream, long story short. But yeah, let's get Neuralink in here.
Hello, hello.
Hello. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Is my mic okay?
Yeah, I think it's okay. I haven't read your blurb yet, so I'm going to read this out loud, and then if you have anything that you want to add, we can go through that, okay?
Of course.
Yo, long time no see. How have you been? I've been all right. Still watch videos, some of my favorite production content. I made this halftime track and a bunch of DMB, so I'm curious to see if I still hit the right balance regarding sound effects and design, as DMB generally has a more maximalistic approach. I got some positive reactions on this, but some people suggest that I drop some of the high-end ear candy of the first 16 bars and keep it minimal. Also, there seems to be a loud hiss ringing noise that's very distracting from the drop in the high frequencies around the square leads elements in the B drop parts. I have a suspicion of what this is, but I'm not going to, or of what this is, but I'm not going to jump to conclusions. But yeah, was there anything else that you wanted to bring up about this?
That covers most of it. It's just like this is in the context of an EP, so I'm first doing a drum and bass release, and then I'm trying to move back a bit to my halftime. But I haven't done this in maybe 4 or 5 years, so I thought it would be good to ask someone that's more knowledgeable about this stuff, and you are definitely a good choice, I think, because I basically asked my friends and a bunch of producers, but they're making, you know, drum and bass or trance or whatever, so
yeah, gotcha.
Trying to gather as many different opinions as possible.
Okay, well, let's take a listen. This is your homework. Yeah, I think that was pretty nice. I think that for the most part, you've got a lot there, like a lot of good stuff. And the biggest thing is maybe just working on some of the transitions that you have. One major thing that stood out to me that I would probably go back and take a look at is the vocal in comparison to the main section, because those elements are yeah, true, Jeffrey. She's just happy with Pat's. They're conflicting in the sense of you're trying to be super aggressive, but then you have this really soft vocal, and they're overlapping each other to where they're getting in the way. And so what I would do is when you play that section or something with the oh, right? Take turns with the bass phrasing and stuff. Don't try to make them play over each other because it pulls away from the vibe that you're trying to create. The other thing that I would say is that not through the entire track, or you don't have to have the detuning with pitching up and all that stuff through the entire track. I think that having like a secondary sub of just woo without the oscillation would probably help keep the track fresh, because it kind of gets played out. And one thing that I've noticed as well is that on the one, not on the very first phrase, but on the one, I don't know if like you're doing a pitch bend or something, but it starts out of key and then comes into key. I personally, that stood out to me in a way that I was like, that doesn't really work until it corrects itself.
Yeah, there is a slight pitch bend.
Yeah, I think that I'm not sure if it's too slow or what, but maybe pulling that in, or maybe start high and go. It's the timing of it, I think, is the big issue for me. Hi, baby. I know. But I think that structurally, if you can kind of dial in on some of the transitions and stuff, everything works okay. Regarding the high end stuff, are you stacking OTTs on your leads?
It was a while since I opened this project, to be honest. I don't think so.
Okay, so you don't have to go, but just as a reference, just take a look at what's happening in your EQ and either look for anti-aliasing after your processing chain, or see if you have a bunch of OCTs happening, because that is what sometimes creates that loud hissing, ringing noise that is sometimes abrasive. But other than that, I thought that like the story and all of that stuff was really nice. It just needs some polish.
Yeah, thank you a lot. So actually, when I was making this, I was kind of digging. It was the Chi Imanu remix of Temper.
Yeah.
And I added this very like wood snare.
Yeah.
That was the vibe I was going for.
Oh yeah, that's what.
With the vocal, it's like old Emperor. I think it was before Monument, actually.
Mm-hmm. You were
wondering. Did this fifth thing.
You were wondering about how to do it, or?
Yeah, I guess they just do it smoothly.
So
and the transitions flow so naturally for them.
For you, for the transitions and stuff, it's really just about the last bar before you go into something else. You know what I mean? Don't be afraid to close everything off, you know, with a filter, or to stop the music and like let one element linger before going into the next. It's those kinds of things of like you want to think about transitions as cliffhangers that happen pretty fast. You know what I mean? You need to conclude the chapters of your tracks. And when you start thinking about things in that way and you're like, okay, it's time for this section now, it gives you a little bit more guidance on how to signal to the listener and to the audience of, okay, we're getting ready to do something next. But if the music keeps going all the way up until the last snare, it's very difficult to have a big change because you're expecting more of the last thing that you heard of what you left off. You know what I mean? But if you take your time with it and you're not just like, you know, bar 1 2 3 4, bar 1 2 3 4, next move. You know, you go bar 1 2 3 4 5 6, and then you stop the music and let some of the musicality play out and have something build up slowly over time. It really helps you flow, like you say. And I think that what creates flow and what creates smoothness is subtlety. And the more that you can introduce those elements subtlety and give them a chance to really breathe, then it's going to help the arrangement of your track give that kind of thing that you're looking for.
Yeah, that I think ties into something I was talking to Bunshin about. So we had this idea of like active versus passive listening, right?
Yeah.
And in this case, I'm trying to make it more active, so that would make sense here with the breaks.
Yeah, 100% would agree with them. And then regarding the snare thing, if you take, are you an Ableton or a Bitwig or FL or?
Ableton right now.
Okay, so open up operator, white noise thing, just a single thing, oscillator, take an overdrive or take an erosion and create a bandpass, and then that will serve as your fundamental. And then what you do is you support it with convolution of a rim shot, and you slowly blend that in and then pull the high end up just a little bit with an OTT, and that will give you that like kind of snare or kind of rim shot.
Mm-hmm.
I do it all the time on stream.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for submitting. For the rest of you all, I am closing the queue. I'm gonna go let my dog out because she's farting a lot, and I think that she needs to go number 2. So we're gonna do that. But if you can, please leave a like in the video, and if you want to do this more, also let me know in the comments and stuff. I would really appreciate that. The biggest thing, and the part of the reason why I never do this anymore, is because I can't ever get anyone to submit, and so, you know, if you want to keep this up and all that stuff, I do enjoy doing it, then, you know, I'm cool with maybe like once a month or once every 2 weeks or something of the sort. But in any case, thanks everybody. This is going to be where I head out. I'm going to put you back in the audience, Neuralink. I appreciate you submitting as well. Yeah. Thank you guys. I just put out a video. I haven't even looked at the analytics of it yet, but go check that out. It is important, and it's a reaction video, but it's something that I'm talking about with how to learn. And I think that I cover a lot of very important topics regarding that and would recommend that you all take a listen. But yeah, I have all the resources that you need. So whatever your struggles are, I want to help you get better. Just let me know how I can be of service, and I will see you all on Wednesday. Wednesday we'll probably be doing sound design or something. Bye everybody. Catch you later.